What's going on, fellas? Welcome back to Fantasy Basketball This Week, your home for quick and easy to digest fantasy basketball advice. We're currently on the road to 500 subscribers, so if you aren't already, go ahead and click that little red button below. Today we're going to be talking about the NBA COVID protocols and how that can affect your fantasy season. Let's get right into it. So as we all know, COVID is going to have an impact on the season once again, and some teams are going to get hit harder than others. But nobody is going to get hit as hard as Wendell Carter Jr. did last night when he got yammed on by Jason Tatum. May Lord have mercy on his soul. So jumping in, most players in the NBA are vaccinated, so there won't be issues with too many players, but others have spoken out against taking the vaccine, so we are going to talk about that. And to be clear, the NBA has not required players to be vaccinated. Those that are unvaccinated will just have to undergo different protocols than those that are vaccinated. So, what does this mean for your fantasy team? Well, unvaccinated players will have to undergo daily testing before entering team facilities or interacting with other players and staffers. And I'm just reading this straight from the article, so if you want this article, I'll link it down in the description. But they will have to do that, and then unvaccinated players will undergo lab-based game day testing. They will not be allowed any indoor dining in the same room as other players or Tier 1 personnel. They will have to keep 6 feet of distance from any other person, wear a mask in almost all situations while inside team facilities, and have a locker as far away from vaccinated players as possible. So, if an unvaccinated player comes into contact with a positive case of COVID, what happens? The unvaccinated player will be required to quarantine for 7 days. Vaccinated players, on the other hand, when they encounter a positive test, will not have to quarantine. Vaccinated players, in fact, will not have to undergo anything mentioned before. They will only have to be tested when they are symptomatic or considered in a close contact with a positive case. In which case, if then they return a positive test, they will have to quarantine. But even in an instance where they come into close contact with a positive case, a vaccinated player will not have to quarantine. So, fantasy-wise, there is obviously a much greater risk in drafting a person that is unvaccinated or rostering a person that is unvaccinated, as they can potentially miss a lot of time. So, which teams have the most strict rules and which teams should you be on the lookout for? Well, the Knicks, the Nets, and the Warriors have the most strict rules. You must be vaccinated in order to play home games if you are on the Knicks, Nets, or Warriors. Now for the Knicks, they're 100% vaccinated, so it shouldn't be an issue for them. The Nets, however, have a very relevant name not being compliant. Kyrie Irving has not said whether he is vaccinated or unvaccinated, but he is not being compliant with the media and saying if he has got the vaccine. So we don't know if he has it or not, but assuming he does not have it, he would miss at least 41 games, all of the home games. And even more if he were to come into close contact with a positive case. Golden State, on the other hand, had Andrew Wiggins speaking out against taking the vaccine and tried to get a religious exemption from the NBA. The NBA, however, declined, and as of recently, Andrew Wiggins got vaccinated. So, more players than those on the Golden State Warriors, the Nets, and the Knicks are unvaccinated. What does that mean whenever they play in New York, Golden State, New York or Golden State? The vaccination rules don't apply to them. So let's say Jonathan Isaac, who is not vaccinated, is going to play at Golden State or in New York against the Brooklyn Nets or the Knicks. He doesn't have to abide by those same rules, and he will be allowed to play in those games. So, who all around the league is unvaccinated and more likely to miss more games than vaccinated players due to coming in close contact? Well, some of the most notable are Kyrie Irving, Michael Porter Jr., Bradley Beal, and Jonathan Isaac. However, league pressure is mounting up significantly against these guys to get the vaccine by way of stripping them of some of their pay whenever they don't play games due to an unvaccinated related absence. So I'm interested to see who's going to miss the most time this year and how it's going to affect our fantasy season. Obviously, I wouldn't wish illness on anybody, but I'm also interested to see what you guys think about this. So let me know in the comment section down below. When is the earliest you would draft Kyrie? When is the earliest you would draft Michael Porter Jr.? And when is the earliest you would draft Bradley Beal? We're going to leave Jonathan Isaac out of this one. No offense, Jonathan. You're just not in the same class as these guys. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching this video all the way through. We'll talk soon. And like I said before, if you haven't already, hit that red subscribe button down below. We'll talk soon. Peace.